Good. Hello, everyone, and I'm so happy to have Annemiek here. Annemiek is my mentor. I did my soul-based coaching certification training with her, and I did coaching with her. And yeah, I'm super happy to have her. Thank you for being here and dedicating your time.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to work with you always, Jenny.
Thank you. And Annemiek, I ask you for having a little interview with me because I find your journey from where you come from or where you have started your coaching journey and where you are now with your academy so interesting and so inspiring that I would love you to share a little bit more about this.
Yeah, well, my background is in corporate and executive coaching and in facilitating change in organizations. And that is a very interesting world for a lot of reasons. One is that because there's a lot of money being paid there, but also there's a high expectations of things shifting and changing quickly and kind of pushing through any resistance that there might be. And you have to kind of get into this mindset as a client that you have to make stuff happen now. And if it doesn't succeed, then you're to blame because in some way you're lacking. And so I was in that game for a while, and I felt very uncomfortable about it. And at the same time, I felt very much called to support people on their journey of making the changes that they longed for happen. So I felt a big disconnect between how I was trained to do that and then what I was feeling in me and in my body. So, even though I did that for quite a while and it was successful and I was, running my own business with that, my body at some point went, no way, we're not doing this anymore. And I actually did that twice. First, there was a big juicy burnout. That took me 3, 4, 5 years to kind of get through. But then autoimmunity also kind of did, oh no, we're not doing that anymore. And that was really, there was no way around it, that I had to look at. So how can this be different? And then it can really easily be different. Using, some of the same tools that I've always been using because they just work really well. But then also seeing how they can also help us really come home to ourselves and how they can allow our clients to come home to themselves and to really step out of that, what I call a masculine paradigm, the not so healthy masculine paradigm that is about controlling and fixing. That's about analyzing and kind of from the outside kind of determining what needs to change and how to do that. Whereas with soul-based coaching, what we do now is that we kind of look at the whole system of our client and we look at how each part of that has a really beautiful part to play in both what it is now for that client and for what they would like to have happen. And so we're starting to bring a lot of allowing and a lot of surrender into the process. And what we really see is that when we can step back as a coach, not being you have to do this, you have to do that, that's not right, that's even do that very kindly, but still most coaches do that in some way. We step back to become the midwives for the change that wants to happen. And that is a very different thing because what the baby looks like is not up to us. It's not even up to us to know what the birthing process is going to be like exactly, but we know about births and we know how to guide them and we know how to help people continually set and take the next step. And that is a very different energy because then we can really honor and trust the power that our clients have and this intelligence, this innate intelligence for healing and change that we all have, because that's what drives us like almost all of the time. So really that is what gets to be center stage.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you. This is so, and I read a little bit about you before I started my training with you. And that's what I found so interesting, that you come from this background which I was very much drawn to in the beginning when I decided I wanted to become a coach. Because
Mm.
I felt in my yoga classes and being with clients one to one, I felt there is so much more we can do in a shorter amount of time, maybe, or I can support them in a different way. So I wanted to find something how I can do that on a professional on a different layer or level. And so I was absolutely confused in the beginning because there's so much career coach and life coach and business coach and health coach. And I felt, yeah, but I want it all. I don't want to have you only with your life. I also want to have you with your work and with your health. And then we also realized because it is all connected, right? We can't only change something in our work life, and because it will also ripple out in our
Yeah.
daily life or how we eat or what we eat. And when I found soul-based coaching, I was also for the very first time very much inspired by this. As a coach, I don't have to know the answers for you. Because I also thought, oh my God, if you get a client in and she comes and she has all these things, how do I know? How do I know? I just
Yeah.
know these 5 minutes of her, and how do I know where she comes from and there?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important piece. It's that recognizing, that how do I know? For a long time, I struggled with that, even in the corporate world, because I thought I'm supposed to know. I'm not a good coach if I don't know. But actually, I've come full circle on that. I think when you think you know, you're not a good coach.
Yeah.
And it means that we have to be willing to have that humility to say, I don't know what is right for you, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy to help you explore what is right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we do in soul based coaching is say, you are the authority on you and on your life. And sure, when it comes to specific health aspects like diet and how that interferes, or how sleep interferes, or how meditation can help, sure, we can offer pieces of content that can be useful. If you have the knowledge about food, for example, to bring that in. But in general, the way that people relate to what they want in their lives and how they can make that happen, it's not up to us to decide what's right for them. Because a lot of this is it's really interesting, because a lot of people that come from corporate backgrounds feel like, yes, they do know, because that makes them right. That makes them like this super person who has this insight about what others should do. But at the same time, what we're really, really missing out on then is that when you come from that paradigm, coaching becomes about working through resistance and making sure that people have enough stamina to continue to do what they should be doing. But that whole part of action planning and accountability, like, that's only needed because the change that you're working on isn't coming from within. It's not the baby that wants to be born. It's something else. And a lot of the time, a lot of the effort and energy goes into that piece of coaching. And, in ways that clients have to fail because it's not their baby. Sure, it can be helpful, but we're missing out on what really, really makes a difference.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and this is also what I so appreciate with soul-based coaching. We don't have to have all the answers, and we give the client the freedom to discover themselves, and not only for this specific question they have or this specific desire or issue, so they will discover way more.
Yeah.
And in my, for example, in my yoga teaching, I absolutely love the idea that I'm there. I'm guiding them through a class or through a meditation or through their process, wherever they go through, but they can do it on themselves. I'm just throwing some tools and techniques out there, but my hope is that they take it home and they work with it on their own. How is that in soul-based coaching?
Yeah, there is. So I think that the main thing that a soul-based coach is supposed to do is to create this riverbed that the change can flow through that wants to happen. And so, what we don't do is just kind of open the floor and just anything goes. No, we're very present, and we're very, paying exquisite attention to where that riverbed wants to go and what support is needed in that moment, so that the client can continue to explore that which is most useful for them. So that's what we're supposed to be doing. And then that flow will start to happen, that change will start to happen, and it will continue to unfold. Because we don't just work on like the conscious level, like the logical mind or just the emotions, we're actually working also on the subconscious level, because we work with people's own metaphors. And so the change process that we set in motion, 9 out of 10 times continues to evolve even outside of the session. And then a client comes back and says, well, it's done. And we're like, couldn't you wait for us? But that's beautiful, because for me, that means that what we're doing is we're helping that innate ability that people have for healing and change to jumpstart that, to get that emotion. And then we can help them get there even faster. So, and I love what you said earlier, like when you were so drawn to that more executive kind of coaching at the beginning, because you wanted to have things happen fast. Mm-hmm. That is something I think we should also maybe point towards, that we have this idea that telling people what to do is faster. Like that's like a very what do you call it? Like that. That's not nuanced enough, but in a way, that's what it comes down to. I know that when I first started to learn the tools that we use in soul-based coaching, I often thought, well, I don't have time for that now. I'll just do it the old way. Mm-hmm. You only find that it would take me twice as long to do it that way, because it was very much about getting the client on board, and they had to really understand all the pieces of what I was meaning to say. And when we follow the client, all of that is taken care of. So in fact, it's usually quicker, I find, in terms of getting the changes to happen.
Yeah, thank you. Oh yeah, I think for me, finding soul-based coaching and learning all the tools through our training with you, it is also helping me now with my friends and my family and the people around me, because we all have our things, and when we are in a conversation, I have learned so much, and I'm still learning, to just listen and not fixing them. And I now appreciate that even more if I have people around me and I have something and I need to share that, and maybe sometimes there are tears and they just giving me the space. I have never been before so aware of how precious this is and how healing and supporting already that is, just by what you said, also this riverbed, just by creating something we feel we are whole and we can be and we can express this. And I don't know, but this is something I want to really yell out into this world. Just allow yourself to express what is on top for you and give yourself the space. And that's, I don't know if you agree, but that's also what I feel is a big difference from soul-based coaching to other coachings, that we absolutely invite that. And we also give the person the space to do so, because we know how necessary it is.
Yeah.
We don't create solutions.
Yeah, and I think there is something, holding space is such an important foundation to what we do. And yes, it changes everything. It changes every relationship, every situation, because it just gives you more options to be there for that other person, but also to be there for yourself. But I think one of the big gifts that we give in soul-based coaching is that not everything has to be solved by us, right? Actually, nothing has to be solved by us as coaches. But like when we're with a loved one, we do not have to fix them or solve them, but just holding space and allowing them to just be with what they're experiencing that moment, giving voice to their feelings or their thoughts, and nothing else needs to happen. That is such a freeing experience, because most of the time people will go into, oh, let me fix that for you, or I know exactly what you mean, I had that too, or like, we start working on it or with it because we feel a bit uncomfortable with that just being there.
Mm.
I think as a coach, we do the same thing. We're happy for things that are uncomfortable to be there without us having to kind of work hard to make them go away. Sure, we'll help the client move away from that or move through that if that's what they want to have happen. But it's not because it feels uncomfortable for us or for them. We know that it is important that that is expressed.
Yeah, yeah, and I think exactly what you said, holding the space and being in holding the space, feeling comfortable, and not responding right away, and not having a solution. That also requires some strength from the coach, and it also requires to put my ego away.
Yes.
And we all have this need. Oh, I want to help you. I want to fix you. So really, no, it's not about me. And how do I know what fixes you? Rather with the tools we have and the techniques to ask all the questions that are needed to bring you on your own journey towards the change you need, because you exactly know what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just releases us of so much pressure, but also it releases clients or our loved ones of so much pressure because they don't have to be perfect, right? And I think one thing that this has really taught me over the years is to learn to trust life more, to trust that person's own ability to get there. And they don't have to do it by themselves. We are there as the midwives, but yeah, we can trust life way more than we think, even with our children or our partners or our parents or our friends, if we can allow them to be.
Nice. Thank you so much, Annemiek. I have another question for you. So if someone who listens to that is feeling like, oh yeah, I could need some help. So how do we start? How do we start? I mean, obviously you are a soul-based coach. I am a soul-based coach, but we work online, so that works perfectly fine. But sometimes people feel like maybe it's whatever. They're not exactly want to go to someone, or they don't exactly where to start. What's a good way?
So if they're feeling not quite right, or they have a question that they want to work on, is that what you're thinking?
So how to start? Because even though if you go in touch with us or with the Academy of Soul-Based Coaching, there also you find some soul-based coaches. I also feel like there is a little bit this, is this really for me? Is this really what I need? There's so much out there. And it could also be a little bit, is this really something I need a coach for?
Yeah, well, how can you start? I would say if it draws you in some way, I would say reach out to Jenny or myself or someone else and just have a chat, because we're all open to just having a chat so that you can feel and understand more about what it is to be experiencing the work, because we can talk about it till the cows come home, as they say in England. But really, you'll know what this is when you experience it. So having a chat and just an exploration call is a great way to do that. And really what I would say is if you feel drawn to work on something for yourself and you feel drawn to what we've been talking about, ask yourself that question of, what would I like to have happen? And what needs to happen for that? It's as simple as that. It's up to you. And it's up to you to follow the call of your soul, of your heart, into what's the next step for you.
Yes. And I also think just what you said, just reach out, and there's always an opportunity to just talk.
Yeah.
You have done the first step. You have started something, and then whatever you need will happen for you. You will know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for dedicating your time with me. It's always talking about all the soul-based coaching tools and techniques and what it has to offer. Makes me always so happy and fulfilled. And it's always for me such a beautiful reminder why I'm doing that work. So Thank you. And, I will also put your contact details below, and yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jenny. I completely agree. It's so amazing to talk about this work, but also to do this work. So happy, very happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.